"Oh, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die." I would make a very bad villain. But you know what? Disney's got some really great villains. And I always see these lists, top 10 Disney villains, top 10 best Disney villains, my favorite Disney villains, all these things like that. But I decided to do something a little bit different. I wanted to do a top 5 underrated Disney villains, because everybody's list of their favorites has usually Maleficent, Jafar, Ursula. All these ones are always on the list. Scar especially is always on the list. But I decided to do a list of those villains that you might not have thought of as being the best, but they still deserve love too, because villains need love too. So my number 5, I'm going to go from 5 to 1. 5 to 1. 5 to 1. So my number 5 pick is Long John Silver from Treasure Planet. The reason why I picked Long John Silver to be number 5 is he's really not that much of a villain. I mean, watch the movie. He doesn't actually do anything villainous. Sure, he hijacks the boat. Sure, he's a pirate. Sure, he goes and tries to steal the treasure. But if you actually notice in the film, he doesn't do very villainous things. Usually it's all of the other pirates that are doing the villainous things. They're the ones killing people. They're the ones that are shooting at people. They're the ones doing a lot of the villainous things. And the movie really hinges on the relationship between Silver and Jim Hawkins, and how they've got this father-son relationship. And so you kind of see, even though Long John Silver is not a good guy, he's a pirate, and he breaks the law, and he does all this stuff, he actually has a good side to him, is actually a good guy, and cares about Jim Hawkins. So he's a good villain. He's definitely got a lot of depth to him, so that's why I put him at number 5, but he's not higher up because he's not really villainy enough. My number 4, however, is very villainy. Villainy. It's Ratigan from The Great Mouse Detective. This is an older Disney film, and a lot of people haven't seen it. It's kind of like the Disney version of Sherlock Holmes with a mouse. And it's really cool, but the villain, voiced by one of the greatest villain actors of all time, Vincent Price. If you've never seen a Vincent Price movie, go watch them. He was amazing. And the thing I love about Ratigan is just, not only is he evil, he knows he's evil, which is something a lot of villains don't have. A lot of villains don't view themselves as evil. Ratigan, he knows he's evil, and he loves it. He relishes it. Ooh, I can't do it. Vincent Price is great as Ratigan. He's a great villain. I just love how much he just loves being villainy. He's such a good villain. So go check that movie out and see, because it's really, really great. Anyway, on to number 3. My number 3 pick is man/nature in Bambi. This one's a little bit of a cheat, because you never really see the man who killed Bambi's mom. And yeah, you can argue he's just a hunter. The fact that he killed Bambi's mom, and everybody has seen that movie, and everyone cries during that movie because it's Bambi's mom. Why? Don't shoot Bambi's mom. But he is just a hunter. But it just kind of shows that from the animal's point of view, man really is a great villain. He's a villain. But then you reverse that, because later on in the movie, when there's a forest fire, nature itself becomes a villain, because the fire is destroying their home and actually going to kill Bambi if he doesn't get out and stuff. So you have man being the villain in one hand, and then nature itself being a villain in the next half of the movie. So it's a really interesting duel in that movie that was a lot deeper than a lot of people realized, because a lot of people were more focused on, it was Bambi's mom. Why? Okay, on to number 2, Monstro. Now, this probably doesn't sound very familiar to a lot of you, because a lot of people don't know the name Monstro, but they do know Pinocchio. And Monstro is the whale from Pinocchio. This one's kind of a personal one for me because Moby Dick scares me to death. I can't stand Moby Dick. I grew up on a boat. We used to go out on a boat all the time, and the thought of a giant whale coming to destroy boats kind of scared me. I've read the book, I've seen movies based on Moby Dick, and it was scary. And so when I go and watch Pinocchio, and even as a kid, the giant whale that is eating people, kind of scary. And so this one's just a personal one. Maybe it's not so bad for you, but to me, Monstro was a huge whale. He was very scary, and he ate people. So he was very villainy. He was a good villain. My number one underrated Disney villain is one that a lot of people don't put on their lists, and I think deserves to be on any list of the greatest Disney villains, and that is Sher Khan from The Jungle Book. There is nothing scarier than a villain who is polite. Because if you watch that movie, Sher Khan is very polite. He's so well-mannered, and he's so nice, and so just has very good manners for being a villain and an animal. And here's another one that Sher Khan is the villain, and we know he's the villain because he wants to eat Mowgli. But if you listen to what he says and why the animals don't trust Mowgli and why Sher Khan wants to eat Mowgli, it's because he's human, and humans are killing animals and, you know, destroying the forest and stuff. And so the animals don't trust Mowgli, and Sher Khan wants to protect himself and his forest, or his jungle, because it's the Jungle Book, not a forest book, it's the Jungle Book. So he wants to protect the jungle by eating Mowgli. And it's a little bit of a revenge story because Sher Khan said he wants to eat Mowgli because he wants to take revenge. But he's so well-mannered about it. But you can kind of see his point of view, and that's some of the greatest villains. You can kind of understand where they're coming from. And it's one of those points that if this movie was about animals and Mowgli wasn't the star, we would probably be rooting for Sher Khan. Whereas this movie focuses on Mowgli, so Sher Khan's the villain. So it's a really interesting take on the villain, and especially, like I said, I just love how well-mannered and how polite he is in that whole movie. It's so funny to see a villain who's got good manners and is very polite. Anyway, so that's my top 5 underrated Disney villains. And so let me know, comment down below if there are any Disney villains that you think should be on the list. And I didn't include any Pixar ones because I'm thinking I'm probably going to do a video specifically for Pixar villains, because there's a lot of good Pixar villains out there too. So be sure to comment down below and let me know about those too. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already done it, hit the subscribe button because I would love for you to stick around and see some of the great videos I have coming up very soon. So hit the subscribe button and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.